Lyons site. Services for the blind and visually impaired. Graphic of a lion's head in black and white on a gray background. All right, so now we've turned the corner and we're going to talk about the last phase of all of this, which is the tactile representations. So this was a book in the box project, which means there's obviously a box. My box got left outside in the rain because I spray painted it, and then I was like, oh, it smells like spray paint, it smells like aerosol. So I left it outside overnight to let it air out, and then it got rained on. So I don't have my box with me, which kind of sucks, but you know, it's a shoe box that I cut a hole out of, and then I taped some cellophane over the hole so it looked like a fish tank. And I spray painted the walls of it blue, and then I taped the cellophane down. I think you can imagine what that's like. Here's the thing that's actually important. These are my little fishy friends. You know, you got Mr. Krabs right here. You got a bunch of other ones. You know, I don't even know what kind of fish this is, but it's a cool fish. Reminds me of William Dafoe, who's in Finding Nemo. Name his character. Bonus points in the comments if you can put the name of the guy that William Dafoe plays in Finding Nemo. You know, he's friends with Nemo. Hey, shark bait! All right, this is him. This is William Dafoe. All right, so those are tactile representations, and so the idea was you'd have the book in the box. It looks like an aquarium box. The kid can reach in and take out one of these toy animals. Okay, here's some things to think about. All right, here's a little fish, right? Here's a little shark, all right? Here's our little penguin pal. You gotta have a penguin because the book is about penguins. Okay, now here's where it gets weird. This is a humpback whale. First off, it's green and not blue. Humpback whales are blue, so not exactly the best representative. But here's the real problem. The humpback whale is about the same size as our friend Bruce the shark, right? You can kind of see. So that's bad for context of scale. He's also the same size as this fish friend we got right here. And he's also the same size as basically our penguin pal. If you hold him vertically, the penguin pal and the blue whale are the same size. That doesn't make sense. You know, a blue whale is not the same size as a penguin. So this is not a good tactile representative. So, for example, a lot of people say, well, how do you explain that it's time to get on the school bus to a kid? Well, they'll say, oh, get yourself a little Hot Wheels school bus, glue it down to a small piece of like MDF, you know, like a little bit of hardboard, and then you put the Braille label and it says bus. And then, you know, when it's time for the kid to get on the bus, it's like, hey, here's your little tactile representative, right? Problem is it's not realistic because it doesn't accurately represent the concept, right? So a better example would be if you wanted the kid to understand what it's like to get on the school bus, usually now school buses have seat belts. So you could put a seat belt and it would be the clasp of the seat belt, and you would get a spare one of those. You'd go to a junkyard and get one of those, and you can get them for like $5, $10. Just find a junk shop. There's plenty of them in the Bay Area. I go to the East Bay and they've got them. And you can get an old seat belt and with the clasp, and then you can mount that onto a piece of hardboard. And then the kid also can take the button and unbutton it and rebutton it. And that's also like manipulation practice. It's them working on their fine motor skills and their dexterity. Instead of having mom put the seatbelt on for them, they do it themselves, right? So the penguin pal's okay because he's part of the story. So I'm going to put the penguin pal in the aquarium box. But if I want a representation of a blue whale, I'm not going to use this. And And, you know, here's our buddy Bruce the shark, right? And this isn't bad. You know, this one's not bad. But what I would instead use if I was doing Bruce the shark is I would go get one of those puka shell shark necklaces that you can get, you know, online on Amazon for like $5, or you go to, you know, Half Moon Bay and they've got the surf shop, you know, the O'Neill surf shops where they sell, you know, the wetsuits and stuff and the wax and the boards. And you could probably find next to the sunblock on the front counter, you could probably find your average tourist Chotsky sort of shark tooth necklace next to the cheap sunglasses, right? So I would go there and get one of those, and I'd clip the shark tooth off of the wire, and I'd have a little shark tooth to give them. And that's cool because also, especially if you can get like a big shark tooth, like they have the plaster casts of the great white shark tooth, or you can get a plaster cast of a megalodon shark tooth. And that's really cool because like that's the size of your hand, you know, a big old tooth the size of your hand, you know, it's like, okay, you know, that's a real shark tooth. You can give that to the kid and you be like, here's a shark tooth, just so you know how big a shark is. Here's the tooth. Now think about how big your teeth are, right? So then the kid thinks about their teeth and they think about maybe their canine tooth, which is their sharp one. You can say, point at your sharp tooth. They can touch it with their tongue, they can point at it, and then you say, all right, now here's a shark tooth. And you say, compare your tooth to the shark tooth. And then that gives them the concept where it's like, that fits into the mouth of the shark, so how big is the shark? Those kids don't have a concept of scale or proportion or size or necessarily of depth. And the only way they get that proportion is by having a tactile object that they can manipulate that then helps them inform their mental concept, which is that internal narrative that they have that they're constructing themselves. And they're constructing it based off of the information that we're feeding them through their auditory channel and, you know, what it is they're feeding themselves through their tactile sensory channel. And so when you give them more information, it's like revealing more of the map to them. And then they have more context for things. So like I said, you know, Mr. Blue Whale here is just not going to work. The shark could be replaced with a shark tooth. And you know, I like the Penguin Pal. The Penguin Pal is pretty good. I don't have a problem with him. He's all right. So I would stick with the Penguin Pal. But yeah, so book in a box. Get yourself good manipulatives, not cheap ones. Some of these fish are good, some of them are bad. Here you have William Dafoe again, and here you have your Penguin Pal. I don't think, you know, William Dafoe is bigger than a penguin. See what I did there? So like I said, I don't think a fish is bigger than a penguin. You know, if you line them up, you can kind of see that. Let me see if I can move it all the way, and you can kind of see that, right? You know, so some of these are better than others, but what I would do is I would put all the fish in, and then if I wanted to give the kid the penguin, I would take all the fish out and put the penguin in, and then I would tell them, you know, the fish are to scale, because like, here's one of those, I think it's called an angelfish. This one's definitely not William Dafoe. And here's our buddy William Dafoe. And, you know, this is about how big they are. I used to work at PetSmart in the aquarium section, also at the register. And the fish are about this big in real life. So these are pretty good representations of real fish. But, you know, the penguin isn't perfect. And sometimes you're just going to have to work with what you got, you know. And here's a cool one. This crab is about the right size. So some other things you can do, right? Let's talk about some other things you can do. You can take the kid to the aquarium, so you can introduce the lesson, and then you can talk to the kid's parents and be like, hey, you know, you've got the Monterey Bay Aquarium, you have the Monterey Extension that's in Santa Cruz, so if they don't want to drive to Monterey, you can go to Santa Cruz, and that's about an hour closer than driving all the way down to Monterey. And then if they're a bit more north, they can go to I think it's the Pier 39 Aquarium, and they can go there. And then they have the tide pool, the little touchy tide pool, where it's a little sort of almost like a kiddie pool, but they've got little crabs in there and starfish. You can go and put your hand in that. And then the Monterey Aquarium, though, obviously if you can go to an aquarium, the Monterey one is the one to go to, because they have the Stingray tide pool, which is so cool. The Stingray pool, all the stingrays are rescues. They don't have barbs, so the kid can put his hand in the water and touch a real life stingray, and they're not going to get hurt. And it's pretty cool. And they glide across the bottom. So I looked around to see if I could get like a stingray one, and I couldn't find a stingray one. But you know, maybe that's something else you do. You try to integrate it. That idea right there is called cowness. If you want to introduce the idea of a cow, you don't get a toy cow. You bring the kid to a farm and you let them touch a cow. And then as they touch across the cow, it's like, here's the head, and then you move across, and oh wow, here's like the hind flank, and look, this is how big the thing is, and look at how big the leg is. Same thing with a horse. Obviously you have to be careful about it, because you don't want, you know, the kid to get their foot stepped on by a cow. That'll break their foot, you know. And if you are hanging around a horse, you don't walk behind the horse, because the horse will kick and break your leg. But you guide the kid and you teach them spatial concepts, and then you also tell them things like, you know, you have to watch your feet, and you're introducing all of these things conceptually to them that are environmental, circumstantial to the environment, but also are generalizable to their everyday experience, and you're introducing that to them at a young age and then scaffolding it upwards as they become an adult. So yeah, those are some concepts, those are some ideas, some things to think about. I hope you liked how I put this together. I hope it was helpful to you. You know, I bought a lot of fishy friends. These guys weren't exactly cheap. And then all of these materials and supplies. So, you know, if you're looking to get into this, you know, you've got to understand you're going to be throwing down your own money. But it pays off in the back end, because, you know, the job pays all right, and you know, the kid has a good time, and that's pretty worthwhile too. You know, when the kid has a good time and enjoys the experience, and enjoys you know, reading, and enjoys literacy, and also has the opportunity to participate in the regular classroom circle time, and they're not just doing circle time by themselves. So it's really important to make sure that any materials you provide them are kind of open-ended, and you know, can be shared with the other classmates, so that they are more pro-social and more integrated in the classroom. All right, I'm going to shut up. That's enough for now. I'm Keenan Fry. This is Lyons Site Services. This is the Lyons Site Media portion. More tutorials and more nonsense like this. If you enjoy me talking and rambling on, click like, click subscribe, go to my other YouTube channel, which you'll find in the description, for some more unique content. And yeah, I'll be launching a website pretty soon for Lyons Site. That'll be coming out probably in February. So site's not up yet, but it will be soon. All right. Thanks. See you next time. Lyons Site. Regular updates on blind and visually impaired tutorials will be available for all kinds of topics. Thanks for watching.